Welcome back to another edition of the B4evaKool Podcast. My name is Rex45. And this evening we got Jordan Long in the building. He got his Motor America shirt on. Welcome to the show, Jordan. How you doing tonight?
Good, doing good, brother. Doing good. Thank you for allowing me to be on the show and introduce myself and let everybody in the racing community and the racing world know who I am, and hopefully they get some experience from what I've done, and hopefully they'll get a chance to know me as a person.
Awesome, man. I really appreciate it. It's always for me anyway. I can't speak for anyone else. It's always interesting trying to get people on the show and reach out to people and stuff like that. And I when you're creating stuff, you never really know like how people are gonna
React.
take it.
Yeah.
But I really appreciate you commenting on social media and giving the vibe that you enjoy what we're doing and interested in coming on and adding to it and just scheduling stuff. It took a little bit, but I really appreciate that. And now we're here. And so, like like everyone else, well, I'll ask, man, how did you get into riding? What was your story like? I've had people on and some people are fortunate enough to start from pretty much birth. Like myself, I kind of stumbled in it later in life to, some may say it's a bucket list or midlife crisis or something like that. I don't know. I just
Midlife crisis.
something, what I'm saying? But somehow, for me, I probably at least 10 to 12 motorcycles later. I don't think it's a crisis.
Yeah, I'm down to with that right about now. Like I said, Jordan Long. Yeah, I got my little Motor America shirt on because, as like Rex said, I'm into podcasting myself, and I've been commenting on your videos because I like the content. I like the natural feeling that you give and you get from your audience and from your guests. And for me, in the same arena that we talked about before,
Mhm.
with music and doing everything else, I also started a little bit later with not just racing, but with the podcasting also. But I actually started riding motorcycles literally in my, I would say, late teens, almost
Okay.
early 20s, to where I kind of caught the bug, but couldn't really pay for the bug. People don't understand that they say that this is a hobby. This is not a hobby. This is a complete lifestyle that you're putting your money, your not just your life. That's another rabbit hole we'll go down on later on.
Right.
But you're putting your whole life around motorcycles. And like I said, from when I was about in my mid late teens, I was able to catch that bug early on, and I wanted to keep it. But like I said, you know, at this is, I'm I guess I'm going to kind of have to age myself. This is the early
We can talk
'90s.
about the music that was out,
Right, yeah. So, but that was before we were on live. So this is like the late '80s, early '90s when riding boots was still $100.
Right,
I
right,
mean, if
right.
you're making $6, $7 an hour to get riding boots for $100 when you're 18, 19, 20 years old, that's unobtainium.
Right.
So I had not say I had to let it go. I just had to take my time with it. And I always had in the back of my mind that I always wanted to get to riding and start riding and be able to really engulf and put a real stranglehold on this lifestyle. So a couple of years later, I got a chance to actually do that. Thanks to the U.S. Navy, I
Okay.
was able to uh, buy my own bike, purchase it almost right out, but I had to lease it. You got
Yeah.
to do what you got to do. But that's when I was actually able to really grasp that bug and really hold on to it really tight. So my first actual legal street bike was a 1999. Wow, I even remember it. 1999 S-Rad Suzuki, for you guys who don't know what
Okay.
S-Rads
Okay.
are.
Mm.
Suzuki 600. This is before they actually went to EFI.
Okay.
EFI, if you don't know who that is, that's electronic fuel injection. I had the last model of the 600s before they went EFI with the 750, which they kind of made that into almost like to the 1,000. So
Mm-hmm.
they still had Suzuki 750 for a while. And it was the year 2000 where they switched to carbureted to EFI. And the first EFI that Suzuki had was the 750. And if I would have hold on just a little bit longer, I would have probably been able to afford it. But I had the bike right in my hand for couple of $1,000, like 4 or 5 grand used
Right.
bike. Wasn't down too many times. I actually got a picture of it too. Back in Hawaii, when I actually was stationed there in Pearl Harbor. Loved the heck out of that bike. Once I actually got hooked and was able to start riding,
Right.
kind of got back to those skills, those basic skills that some people kind of don't grasp or don't get a chance to.
I was gonna
I already
say,
had.
like, not to cut, but I do mean to cut you off.
Oh, yeah, you good.
Like, so you bought the bike, but what was it like learning to ride? You know what I mean? Like, what was that like? Because for me, I was a little nervous in the beginning for sure. So, like, what was that like? And did somebody teach you, or did you just? I mean, I can't say you were on the internet, back in them
Right,
days.
right.
So like,
YouTube wasn't invented then.
yeah, was it your friends that were involved? Was it other people in the Navy that was like, okay, let's, what was that?
It was actually a combination because, like we talked before off camera, that I was actually riding a little bit beforehand, before
Hmm.
I joined the Navy. So I knew how to ride, but I've been off the bike for so long. So when I finally got this bike, I knew the basics. I knew how to shift. I knew where the brake was, knew the clutch was. I knew all the basic stuff,
Right.
but I've never been able to or experience somewhere where I can actually go highway speeds
Yes. Yes. I like how you
on the
phrase
street
that.
and stuff. Right. Keep it legal. U.S. Navy sailors and Marine
Exactly.
Corps. Yeah.
So were
So
you? So were you? You started riding in the States first.
I was in
Um.
Hawaii. I was in
Okay. Okay.
Hawaii. I learned. I first learned to started riding when I was back in the Bronx.
Okay.
That's when I really caught the bug. When I was like a teenager, preteen,
Right. Right.
and
Right.
I got into a bike and was kind of like, "What is this feeling that I have? I got to get more of it." Mostly when you learn that the bike leans and you don't fall, holy crap, that is just a freaking amazing.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
a lot of people get afraid of that. Oh, I'm leaning, I'm gonna fall. I
Right. Right.
figured that out so fast. It was kind of like, oh heck
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So for me, like I said, was an instant bug. So once I was able to do that again when I was in Pearl Harbor, it was instantaneous. So yeah, I got writing, and then I didn't form a little group. It was just some Navy guys, some Marine guys, some local guys. You
Mm-hmm.
know, it's Hawaii. Hawaii is riding weather
Yeah.
24/7.
Right. Right. Right.
You have to have a motorcycle there. So I just enveloped it, gained a lot of skills, some good skills, some not so good skills,
Right. Right. Right.
street riding and stuff like that. So within like 2 years, I was able to find a local track. The track is closed now. Sorry to hear that, but Hawaii Road Race International Course. That
Okay.
was it, HRA, and they closed now, but that was the only track we can go to. So once I found that out, I was like, what do I need to do? What do I need to wear something? Do I need to, how do I need to do this? Yada, yada, yada. So slowly but surely, I was able to get gear. Obviously, you had the basics,
Right.
helmet, gloves, maybe some boots. Hawaii, they do slippers. That's the Hawaii uniform. No
Right.
matter
Right.
what you're wearing, tank top, shorts, and flip flops.
Yeah.
That's the Hawaiian uniform.
It's interesting how many tracks are on islands because I got friends that race in the Caribbean and stuff like that. I didn't even know Jamaica had a
Bar-
track until like
Barbados has a
5 years
track.
ago.
Jamaica has a track.
Yeah,
Cayman Islands has a
yeah,
track. I didn't know that.
yeah. Guyana, a lot
Yep.
of these places. Yeah. So it's interesting. It's pretty cool. Because the love of motorcycling in islands and places where you may not think there'll be a racetrack and stuff like that. There are tracks.
Yeah.
And even the same thing like thinking of Hawaii. I don't know why I didn't think they would have racetracks in Hawaii, but and I wasn't even thinking that.
They do. It's not really big because
Right.
everyone thinks of Hawaii as pineapples and Honolulu's and snorkels and seashells, but they do have ghettos.
Yeah, yeah,
They
yeah.
do have they do have beautiful places, but they do have slums too, and they have hip hop there. Big hip hop community there
Hmm.
in Hawaii. I mean, this is showing my age again. This is when Dr. Dre was looking for his next artist. This is after he got back with Snoop. He was looking for his next artist, and he actually flew out to Honolulu, Hawaii more than once. I caught him twice. Caught him. I caught him twice in
Hmm.
Honolulu, Hawaii, trying to find the next artist.
Wow.
And there was a lot of local artists there that was trying to get on. And this was right before he found Eminem. I think actually, if I remember right, I'm probably lying out my teeth. One of the trips he went out there to Hawaii, he flew back to LA to meet Eminem back in LA. That's when they actually came together, and he flew back from Detroit to LA. And Dr. Dre was like, "I gotta go. I found my artist. I'm out of here." So he left Hawaii and went to LA and signed Eminem.
Yeah, yeah. There's a reggae. Well, he goes by Jay Boogs, but it's a band, and he's from Hawaii, and he does reggae music. It's not we're not gonna go off too much. I could talk about music all day too. But
We
yeah,
talked about it. We went down that rabbit hole.
yeah, yeah. So I know Hawaii have some talented folks in the music industry. But let's
I
get
and
back
I. You
to
should know
the
I
track.
and I. Then you should know I and I down there. I can't remember his first name. You're gonna make me lie, but I and I. Gosh darn it, he's down there. I deliver. He's still out there. He's still doing a lot of reggae stuff out there.
So
Uh,
I think I
Big
and
promoter.
I know
Yeah, I and I industry.
I
I think it's I and I Industries or something like that. I
I'd
and
have to
I.
look. Are you talking about one person though, right? Is it one person that's I
It's,
and I?
I know the CEO. So yeah, I'm talking about one guy,
Got you. Because
but he has
if
a
it's the same
couple of
person,
groups.
yeah, yeah. If
Yeah.
it's the same person, I'm thinking of. I think I know his parents. 'Cause
Dude, that's small world, right? We said that, right? Small
yeah.
world.
So, because in other things I do, if it's the same person, his mom is a doctor, and is but anyway, we'll go off topic. So yeah, so Hawaii, going to the track out there. Was it more like track days, or were you over there like it was like a race club that you could actually race?
Both. What I was actually contributing to was the racing community out there in Hawaii. So they did have track days. They had track days, they have track schools that if you had your bike, you obviously you had it teched, everything that you would normally do for a race weekend or track day weekend, then they would do the same things. They would let you on the same track that they would be racing at, because like I said, it was only one track,
Mm-hmm.
and they would school you on different levels from beginner, intermediate to ready for racing. And I knew everybody because it's such a small island, and because of who I am, the type of person I am. I kind of intermingle with a lot of people, and I pretty much knew everybody. So even though I was still a beginner, I didn't have a lot of gear, didn't have a lot of stuff, there was people who saw my potential and was kind of like, "Hey, this suit is old, or this suit doesn't fit me anymore. Here, uh, see if you fit this, and we want to see you progress into racing." And that, like I said, that was the interim to the crack cocaine that is now MR14.
Okay.
so, so
Wow.
from then on, like I said, I've got pictures. I'll probably email them to you. Um, I was literally on the track anytime I could to gain some knowledge, gain some experience. And then whenever I wasn't practicing, I was first a corner worker.
Okay.
Then I graduated to become head corner worker,
No
to
kidding.
where I was actually teaching the corner workers what to do, how to do, so forth and so on, teaching safety courses. Because, like I said, I was in the Navy, and I
Right.
was a hospital corpsman, so medical and safety was always at the forefront of my mind.
Right. Right.
So
Right.
I was always doing that. So I actually was track day racing or track daying, corner working, helping out the racing industry there, to actually trying to get myself to race at
Okay.
that point in time. And then right when I was getting my race license, I low sided, tucked the front. They had a tire wall that took out my whole front end.
Wow.
So
Wow.
I was stuck in Hawaii for the next 6, 9 months trying to repair that SRAD, which
Okay.
never really happened. And
Right.
then I was transferred from Hawaii back over here into CONUS, which is continent United States, um, back over here to the lower 48.
Right. Right.
And
Right.
that's
Right.
where I quickly joined an organization called the Rough Riders.
Okay. No relation.
And that's another long story. We'll kind of save that for another episode.
Just figure out, you can't just say Rough Riders and I don't ask.
Can't
It's
just
just like,
drop Rough
okay.
Riders and be like, "Oh, we'll say that later on."
I
But
got
yeah,
DMX in my head now.
so I got into another bike. It was a 2007 Yamaha R6
Okay.
that I went to Bike Week that same year, and it's 2009.
Which which
2007.
which
This is
which
2009.
bike week?
Bike Week in Myrtle Beach.
Okay. Okay. All right.
No, pardon me. It wasn't Myrtle Beach. We went to Daytona. Pardon me.
Okay.
I did go to Myrtle Beach, but that wasn't the bike week.
Yeah.
So we took the bike, and then we went to Daytona, where we actually went to the actual bike week. And then that week after bike week, stripped the bike down, sold everything, race fairings, a
No
whole shebang
kidding.
of bang, full on race after that. And that's what I've been racing up until 3 years ago, when I had to get rid of it. It was a, not say it was ancient, but it was ancient. Mike Godin, KWS Motorsports, which now he's with Ray Hall Racing. That was my mechanic. And I say
Okay.
he was my mechanic. I still consider him my mechanic, because he did everything right on that bike. And if I ever brought him that bike with somebody else touching it, obviously he would know,
Right.
and then he would curse me out. I mean, curse me out till the end of time, and but don't let everybody touch your bike anymore unless you want me
Right.
to do
Right.
it.
Right.
If you don't want
So
me to do it no more, get it to whoever. If you want me to do it, then I'm going to do it. So ever since then, I don't let nobody touch it. But then I sold it three,
got you.
three, 3 years ago. And the guy resold it. He's got it back on the track right about now,
Oh
and
wow.
loving life.
So
So
when did you get that bike? Like, if it's a '07, like what year did you get that bike and how
I
long were you?
I got the '07 in '09. I got back to CONUS in '06.
Okay.
So like I said, within a year, I was itching. I was trying to get back on the bike.
Wow.
So I was itching to go back. A Rough Rider friend of mine was kind of like, "Hey, throw me some dollars. You can have your own bike." And I'm like, "Cool." So did that. Like I said, less than 3 months after that, after Bike Week, all the all the street fairings got sold.
Right. Right.
Headlights, didn't need none of that stuff. Switch it over to a race bike. Never looked back ever since.
Wow. So yeah. So you were in that. And how long were you in Hawaii for?
I was in Hawaii for 8.5 years.
Okay. Okay. Wow. Okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So you spent a lot of time at the racetrack, and learning all about that life. It's not like it's like a year and a half or two
No, no,
years.
no, no, no.
That's
When I got to Honolulu, Hawaii in like 2000, like 99, 2000, I went there as a single not younger, semi-older sailor.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't have a car. The car that I actually had before I came over to Hawaii got wrecked by a deer. So I literally had to scrap that, get rid of that. Insurance raped me over the coals for that. So
Yeah.
when I came over to Hawaii, I literally came over here with nothing. So literally within 3 months, 2 months, I was tired of walking around. I was like, I need some wheels. And
Right.
someone said, "Why don't you just get a bike? It's a lot cheaper, a little less for insurance." It's kind of like, yeah, I'll do
Mhm.
that. So found that bike, found the S-Rad, got into it, loved it, um, until fate happened
Right.
on that
Right.
dreary day.
Yeah. So in the Rough Riders Club and um going to the track, like what clubs were you racing at? Or were you just doing track days initially with the R6?
I was wasn't with the R6 at the time because with the R6 I had that here in the States.
Just let me.
When I
Yeah,
was
so
in
I'm jumping.
Hawaii,
I'm
yeah,
jumping back to
okay.
the states because
So
I just wanted to get an idea what the timeline in Hawaii, because I didn't ask, and I didn't want to. I
that
assumed that you might have
happened
just did like 4 years.
in literally 2006, 2007. My first race here in Conus was VIR North
Wow.
Course with was CCS Azra.
Okay.
I can almost tell you the date.
Wow.
And that was my first actual racing. Obviously, I went through the same rigorous, stringent protocols that everyone should do if you want to go racing.
Hmm.
I don't suggest anyone just to jump on a bike, go to a racetrack and think they're going to do it, because it ain't going to happen. Go through the proper courses, go through the teachings that you should do so that you understand track life and race life, even street life and race
Yeah.
life, two separate things, two separate entities. So when you go to these Frank Kinsey race schools, God bless him, um, who re-instructed me into the proper technique of racing.
Hmm.
Even though, like I said, I went to race school before, but he reintroduced me to it because I was going to ASRA. So he reintroduced me into there, flying colors. But it was a still a really good experience for me to kind of reintroduce myself or kind of remember.
Right. Right. Right.
Everyone knows
Right.
the checkered flag, yada yada yada, but some people may not know what the meatball flag is. Some people may not know what the peppermint stripe is. Blah blah blah, and they may use it differently with different courses
Right.
or different organizations. So you have to understand that. I have to know that. So I was humble enough to say, "Teach me," and Frank did a great job of it. And God bless the Kinsey family; they still doing it after his untimely demise. Frank Kinsey school is still going, and that was my first one.
Wow.
VIR North Course with CCS Azra, and I still talk to the guys with Azra and CCS to this day.
Okay. Wow. That's pretty dope. And so in 2009, 2010, you're racing with CCS Azra.
Yep.
Um, did you start and I assume you're in the Virginia area.
No,
Um,
I actually was in South Carolina.
okay.
I
Okay.
drove anywhere I could, as far as I could. I would say legally, but I wasn't a CDL driver, nothing like that. So I didn't have any restrictions, or I drove as far as I could. And coming from Beaufort, South Carolina to VIR, Georgia was about a 7.5, 8 hour drive one
Okay.
way.
Okay. Okay. I was
So
trying to figure out how far you were you were driving. So what other tracks were you hitting? And in the beginning, were you like trying to, like, in one year, were you like, so my first year I did a couple of rounds, second year did a couple of rounds. My third year, I was with LRRS, which was a part of CCS Azra, but just
yep,
the Loudon
Loudon,
location.
yep, yep.
Um but I was that for me, it was just only a couple. So was it like, where I mean, you've been in it for 8 years plus, before going to Hawaii, in Hawaii, and then coming back. So at that point, if you had time off and could make it, you were just driving. So like, it would list some of the tracks that you've been to so far.
Uh, at that
Race
point
or
in
track
time,
day.
no, I'm sorry. At that point in time, I started off with VIR. Then I went over to Kershaw, which is
Okay.
Carolina Motorsports Park.
Yep.
Learned that track, loved it.
Yeah. I'm a
Even
fan.
though, yeah, it has its ups and downs. So if you kind of know how to navigate that, turn 7, just be careful. Turn 5, pin it, throw it. If you've been over to Kershaw, then you know what I'm talking about. Uh, I went over to Moroso Motorsports Park, which is Palm Beach. I think they
Hmm.
changed to Palm Beach.
Yep.
Went over there, pretty decent track. That back straightaway. Long story short, I'll never go full throttle playing it all the way. Sorry,
Yeah.
can't do it. I love my life too much. But it's a good track. Other than that, it's a good track. Miami Homestead, still like that track. Um, that was literally like my first year, maybe 2 years. I
Okay.
was all over the place. There
Yeah.
was not one track that if I could get there, either piggyback, someone was going there, whatever, I was hitting it. Within my first 3 years of racing, I had literally hit Mid Ohio.
Wow.
I was planning on going to another track. I can't remember the name of it, but I hit anywhere on the East Coast. Besides Loudon, which I couldn't really find the directions over there. But if I could have went to Loudon, I would have went there. There was another track, North Carolina,
Okay.
that I went to, and this is before North
NC
Carolina.
bike or a different track?
Different track. It was different. It's for NC bike. They did have it kind of in construction at the time, like someone in their mind, but they didn't clear out the land and they didn't do all the gravel and the pavement. But that's another track I really, really wanted to go to, is NC track bike. But yeah, I hit any track CCS Azra was doing for the Mid Atlantic or the Southeast region,
Okay.
which the Mid Atlantic was obviously Loudon. Oh,
Right.
I also went to Black Hawk Farms.
Okay. Yeah, I've
Love
been
that
there.
track.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%.
Illinois, man, that track is, I would say it's a small track, but it's
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
bee's
Yeah.
knees.
Yeah.
It's a small track, but it's the bee's knees.
I will say that track made me realize how much space I have on other tracks. It's like, I think,
You
okay, all
better
right.
get on your line, know your line. You
Yeah.
can drift the tail out a little bit, but you better keep that traction. The only place that you can really kind of go, I got kind of go crazy on, is the last corner before the front straight.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
That long right
Yeah.
hander, you can kind of get crazy on that. After that, you better be on the brakes, get ready for that right hander.
Yeah.
Because
That little,
even
that
after
little,
that,
that little, like, because I don't even, I just picked the bike up and stay leaned over just to that little kink. But they got the trees right there that I gotta just ignore.
yep. I'm glad you said that, because I did the same thing. I had to find out. It's kind of like, no, just go, just go.
Yeah. Yeah.
Head down.
Go. Yes, the trees, but you're not going that way.
But that's another fun track I've been through. I haven't been to Coda just yet. That's one of my go-to places, is
Yeah.
Coda.
Yeah.
I just went to Barber for the first time in October.
Okay.
Holy freaking mountains of
We might have been in the same time then, I think, because
you went
I was
October?
a track day though. I did a track day. I didn't.
I did STT in
Yeah.
October.
Yeah. I did a day out there as well.
What day did you do? What day did you do?
I'm trying to think. Saturday, I believe. I think it was Saturday.
You
And
did
it was my
Saturday.
first
I
time.
crashed Sunday.
Oh wow! And that was my first time there too. But Barber is like my favorite track
Woo!
so far, and I've been to Pitt, which I really like. I like Road Atlanta as well, obviously, and I like Daytona. But Barber is just a beautiful track, and to me it reminds. I don't know if you've been to Pitt, but it reminds me of Pitt. But I can just I felt like I just handled the track better for my first time there than my first time at Pitt. So
It's forgiving.
Yeah.
Barber is forgiving if you're not going, Jake Gagne and Cameron Bobier speed.
Which I wasn't, yeah. So
other than that, the track is very, very forgiving.
yeah.
Unless you did what I did, which was have your tire pressures wrong. I burned through 2. I love, actually 3. 3's going over the crest.
Yeah.
Oh man, that thing is just kind of like, oh oh,
Yeah,
am I gonna die or not?
I'm still getting used to just the road is on the other side. Don't worry. I'm still that trust factor. It's the same thing with Pitt. Like it's the same thing. It's just like, and you have to set up the bike right. I mean, if you're trying to move right, you have to
Right.
set up the bike right.
Yeah.
And then it's beautiful. But like, and again, I've only been to each of those track one time, so I'm not really
Right.
sitting here like expecting more than being at a track one time. But when you
Yeah.
get there, you still want to be better than not.
And that's what you try to do, and that's what a lot of people don't. I'd say don't, but a lot of people try to understand is that they go into a video, they see Rossi, they see Marquez, they see all these other Martin, and they think like, oh, I can do that. Do you understand not just the skill level they have, but the machine that they're on?
Right.
And people don't quite understand that, that's a multi-million-dollar machine that has superior 64-degree lean angle that we will never reach.
Right.
It's just impossible for us to do the things that they do. It's good to watch. It's good to see. Love seeing uh Martin freaking drag his shoulder.
Yeah. Right.
Dude, what the
It's pretty insane where those guys are getting with the lean angle and stuff like that. But when you so CCS and Azra,
Mhm.
racing that, have you raced at other clubs? And I guess I should ask this: are you still racing now? Or because I see you said you sold a R6 about 3 years ago. So did you move
Correct.
up to a different or move to a different brand or?
First question, I did race with different organizations. I was racing with CCS. I was also racing with Wera,
Mhm.
which I love Wendy also. She's a great female, love her to death. Um, Racing with them on various occasions, even with the endurance racing.
Okay.
Uh,
We'll
I
talk about
got
that.
rid of the bike because it was just a little bit old. It's 2007 R6. Everybody had electronics around that time, 2009, 2012. You know, basic electronics on the R6 was just traction control, some fuel mapping, and some other stuff. Yeah, yeah.
Aftermarket traction control.
No, this is no, well, 2012 they had the adjustable traction control, and then they had something else. I may have been piggybacked off of Graves Yamaha, but
Yeah,
they
it
had
may
some
be.
fuel
Yeah, yeah,
mapping and
yeah,
stuff
yeah.
like that.
Because
But the basic stuff on those bikes was surpassing my bike from 2007. So even though I was keeping up with a majority of them, I didn't say I'd keep up, because they really spanked my butt. But I would say I got a good lesson learned from Garrett Gerloff, who broke the track record twice at Rolling Roads. Yeah,
right,
look at my
right.
face.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I'm on the track and he like barrels past me. I was kind of like, really, you son of a, and he's like 12 years old. And earlier that year, this I can't remember what year this was. This had to be 2011, 2012. JD Beach was at Mid Ohio, and he passes me at turn 8 or 9. This is when they had the bridge. If you look at Mid Ohio now, the bridge is gone.
Okay.
But turn 5, 6, 7, you go under the bridge and you kind of have that hump or that wheelie that you had to go over. Like I said, I had really basic suspension. So when I'm coming over at 80 miles an hour, my front end just wants to come up, and I'm
Right.
literally leaning over the bike to try to keep it from
Is,
going up
isn't that
and
isn't that
just
fun?
working the throttle as long as I could. And my front wheel comes down, get on the brakes. JD Beach just not even parks it. He like slides it next to me, in front of me, waves at me, and then goes. And I'm like,
Yeah,
you mother effer.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah, me and JD Beach talks about that before. It's kind of like, hey, thanks for hurting my feelings in Mid Ohio. And this was AMA sanctioned race
Okay.
with Race of Champions that we did
Okay.
in Mid Ohio.
Okay.
And uh Hayden Gillum won the Horizon Award,
Wow.
which I speak to Hayden pretty often also whenever we meet up. So congratulations to Hayden on his family and his new child also. So yeah, like I said, I've bumped elbows with so many people and got my butt hurt.
Right.
I won't say really got my butt hurt, but I learned a lot.
Yeah, yeah,
And it's
yeah, yeah,
kind of
yeah.
like I understood what machinery they were on and what kind of like bone stock stuff I was on. And
Right,
it's kind of
right,
like, okay, I need to do this, I need to do that to get to that level. So,
right.
but yeah,
So,
I'm currently not racing right now. I actually help different teams with the Motor America. That's why I kind of have the Motor America logo on my shirt, so
okay.
that whenever I'm not working with said team, I can still be affiliated with Motor America and still do podcasting and talking with the teams, talking with the racers,
Okay.
rubbing elbows with them,
Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
doing other stuff that may or may not have to do with motorcycles.
Gotcha, gotcha. Okay. And what's that been like for you? And I'll ask. So
It
you
sucks.
haven't raced? Yeah. It's who?
Sucks.
Why is
It
that?
sucks. I want to be
Come
back
on.
on the bike. Long story short, yeah, you asked the other questions like, do I have a bike now? I do have a 2015 Yamaha R1, and Garrett Gerloff will be very happy. He told me for years, Garrett and uh, Josh Heron told me for years, like, dude, you need to get on 1,000. You need to get on 1,000. They've seen me race, they've seen me track day, they see me coach, and it's
Hmm.
kind of like, dude, you need to get on 1,000. And it's kind of like, I don't want to. It's just once you get to 1,000, it's another skill level that you have to attain to control that type of monster. Even if it's an old one, I got a 2015, and it's got the very basic traction control that some of these BMWs, Ducatis, and stuff like that have now.
Right.
10 years ago. So do I want a Ducati? Do I want a very high end MV Agusta? Not really.
Yes.
But
That's a yes.
to get to that skill level, to get to that set, I want to have my tools that I need to
Right.
control that type of machine and to feel comfortable on that type of machine. Like I said, I know Jake Gagne, I know Cameron Bobier, I know JD Beach. All these guys have been on World Superbike
Right.
classes, and Gary Gerloff has been on, gosh darn, a MotoGP bike.
Yeah.
So when you're at that level, you have to have that toolbox that you can get in there, grab that tool, and be able to manhandle, or if not, control that 200 horsepower
Right.
rear wheel monster.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think that, and I have big bikes. I don't race them. I've raced the R6. I raced a couple of KTM's RC390s. Um,
A
and
fun bike.
huh?
Fun bike.
Yeah, fun. Yeah,
You know,
fun bike.
yeah, fun bike.
I've talked to some people who have raced the BMW S1000 R and have raced the R6, and they said it's much easier to race the BMW than the R6.
It's forgiving.
Um, and there may be some truth to, you know, you may have all the fun with the bigger bike without necessarily having to go, full power, right?
Correct.
And still, enjoy yourself getting around the track and stuff
Gotta
like
love
that.
those electronics.
Yeah, exactly. Because it does, I think it doesn't matter to me, and you can tell me how you feel about this, but I think that regardless of whatever size bike you ride, you need to be on that a bike almost every day or as often as you can to get really good. You may be one of those people that may be able to just jump on a bike and just be fast, even taking months off. But for most of us, like it's like shooting jump shots. You got to go out there every day and shoot 1,000.
Yeah, yeah. For me, not to say I would say, hopefully the guy doesn't strike me down, that I'm gifted to learn tracks. When I went to Blackhawk Farms for the first time, I literally walked the track. Saturday was raining. Walked the track. It was pouring down, raining. Walked the track Saturday. Sunday walked it again. No, I walked it twice. I walked it twice Saturday. Sunday morning, got on the track before lunch
Right.
at that track. My first time looking at it before lunch, I was 4 seconds off the track record.
Oh wow. Okay.
The track record holder was actually at that track at that day, and the coach that was following behind me, who I didn't know at the time, I'm just going through the paces, and I'm just trying to hit my marks and kind of just gain speed here and there, and kind of adjust my suspension, adjust my tire pressure, whatever I need to do to kind of get that little tense, which I didn't know those little tenths that I was aiming for, I was actually losing half a second,
Wow.
three quarters of a second. And I actually was getting down to lunchtime was 6 seconds. After lunch, I was down to 4 seconds to the track record. And the coach behind me said, "Hey, I want to introduce you to someone." I can't remember the guy's name to this day, but if I YouTube him, I'll probably find him again. He was a factory Hooters rider, and he had a Gixxer 750 completely fully built. And I was about 4 seconds off his track record, off of
Wow.
CCS Azure.
Yeah, yeah.
So that was my gift. But if I was on, probably a little bit better machinery, stuff like that, who knows? But right now, what I like to do is to pass on my experience, things that I've learned, things that I've grown up doing, things that I've had to learn by myself. I never had a crew chief. I
Right.
never had a tire technician, never had a suspension technician, nothing like that. Everything I've done on my own through trial and error, kind of researching. Got a couple of books about suspensions and stuff like that. And I kind of realized, oh, okay, if that's what's going on with your suspension, your tire will say blah, blah, blah. And people don't know that sipes tell you everything. If you don't know what a sipe is, Google it.
Mm.
Uh, but if you look at that and you read what that is, then you know instantly what to do. And it's just what Dave Moss says, 2 clicks away. And God bless Dave Moss. He's another good friend of mine, to where, you know, if you have good people behind you, racing, doing track days, and having fun with your machine, with your bike, is literally just something that you have to do. Not because you want to do it. You
Right.
should do it because if you're part of this lifestyle, then that's what you should be doing. I've got a riding group that I ride with here in Atlanta, and we team up any chance we get. If it's riding weather, we go out. If
Okay.
it's cold, we're gonna, hey, be careful if anybody gonna go out, blah blah blah. We encourage one another. But if it's riding weather, it's, hey, 70 degrees. Who's going out? I'm going here. Meet me here. Blah blah blah. Hey, I'll be there. I'm right there with you.
Right.
So we
Right.
make sure that nobody goes out alone. Make sure we have a buddy system. We also communicate with one another. Yeah, we have a really good group that we ride with right about now. But yeah,
Right.
I'm definitely trying to get these colors back onto the racetrack as soon as possible. And with my current sponsors, I've actually got a sponsor list. I've also got some people who's helping me out. Um, and like I said, I don't put all these names and stuff on my shirt just to have them on there. No, these are people
Right.
who I still talk to, still communicate with. I got a street bike right about now, but if I still run Dunlops.
Right. Right. Right.
You
So
know, people
go
ask
ahead.
me all the time, like, yeah, yeah, go ahead.
I was gonna say, so what is it like, being in the Motor America paddock, after racing on your own and racing and riding and racing and doing track stuff in Hawaii and stuff like that. When you got to Motor America, did you notice any difference other than more expensive toys? Is it like a world of difference? I mean, I've been to some MotoGP races. I've done the paddock walk in Assen and stuff like that. Obviously, it's show and tell, so we're not. It's not like work, and you're not seeing the same things and stuff like that. Everything is nice. Nobody's yelling at anybody or anything like that. But like, what are your what are what have you observed over the years, and how do you is it a big deal? Is it hard to get into a paddock for somebody who wants to maybe work for a team or help out a team like you're doing and stuff like that, or teams like you're doing?
It so being in a paddock in Moto America is, I would say, a professional level of motorcycle racing. It's everyone's trying to be cordial in the Weira, CCS, Azra paddocks. Everybody goes there. They're working class citizens and respect one another. Which I'm not saying they don't in Motor America, but now you're at a everything is at a top tier level. Whether you're a beginning racer in Motor America, which you have a tent. I've seen guys up there in Motor America with tents, with their trailer, and they have whatever they have makeshifted for
Mm-hmm.
themselves for the weekend. And then obviously the big teams that we don't need to even mention their names because they get enough exposure already. So, but they know who they are. We all know who they are.
Right, right,
Got the big rigs and the whole shebang bang, and they have the unobtainiums.
right.
So the paddock is very still friendly, even though you may not be able to, like you said before, you've been to MotoGP round to where, you can only go so far before it's kind of like, oh, sorry, you don't have the right credentials.
Right.
Um, and that's the way it kind of is with almost any sport. My mom, God bless her soul, she loved NASCAR. So I got her to go to a NASCAR round here in Atlanta, a couple of years ago, and she was actually able to get close to some of these cars, not to the rider that she liked, but at least get to some of these cars and actually be able to understand that, what they do and what they have to do and stuff like that.
Right.
So with us, it's a little bit of a top tier in Moto America, but it's still very approachable. A lot of the guys, I guess because I've seen them or I know them, or they may see me a little bit more, so they know that I'm not just a fan. 9 times out of 10, I'm usually working there for
Mm-hmm.
another team, or I'm working there for myself.
Right.
And we get to chop it up. We get to talk for a little bit. We get to, like yourself, make a schedule. Hey, come on my podcast, blah, blah, blah. So it's still very approachable. At certain times, they have to concentrate on what they're paid to do,
Right.
or whatever they're paying to do. Um, so it's a little bit of a balance between uh, a regular race weekend for you and I, and for a professional racer at Motor America level, whether they're still paying out of pocket or they're getting paid Josh Herring money
Right.
to win championships.
Who doesn't want that kind of money? I don't know what it is, but
I got a glimpse of it. I would say not to say I got a glimpse of it. I got a hint of it. I'm not going to disclose it because technically it's none of my freaking business.
Right, right,
And
right.
if he earned whatever he earned, then gosh, God bless him. He earned the heck out of it.
Right.
But I know, like I said, I know other people who I work with personally. They pay for everything out of their pocket.
Yeah. So, yeah. I'm trying to think where to go with that.
I can go plenty places with this.
Yeah. Well, so I'll say this. I have. I'll bring this up and ask your opinion about it.
Yeah, please.
Since you're a fellow podcaster and so forth. I know you know about the Loudon Classic. So Hayden Gillen won. And I don't follow Motor America like that, their broadcasts and stuff like that. But the race after the classic, the Motor America round after, I forget how. I think Hayden Gillen got on the podium there as well, and they were talking about him. But I found it weird that they didn't mention the classic and him winning, the 50 grand or whatever he won. Not that the money matters, but it's like it's a good amount of it's a big purse, and and it helps the sport if you're talking about these things. So I found it was like a snub, like y'all, we don't want to talk about another series.
Yeah, and that's pretty much what it is. With Motor America, they don't want to expand themselves out to someone. CCS, we're the Bagger Series, so forth and so on. I can talk about it because I'm not a Motor America affiliate.
Right.
I've asked them if I could be an affiliate. They was like, no. So I'm like, okay, cool beans. So they're trying to grow their brand as Motor America, which I completely understand. With other classes and other racing organizations, we're CCS, Loudon. What's the other one in Louisiana? There's one in Louisiana.
In Armor.
LRRA, if I
Oh.
remember right. LRRA.
It's AHMRA. One of them is it?
Then they
I'd
got
have to
them
look it
good
up.
guys out in the West Coast, so forth and so on. So I mean, they're trying to hone in to, uh, I guess, the biggest market they can, because they're still affiliated with FIM and MotoGP, so forth and so on. So
Hmm.
to kind of, yeah, it would help to highlight some other racing organizations to kind of, hey, this is where you want to be at. But speaking of that, I'm going to throw some shade. Um, at least I'm saying it right. um, I thought it was a good, but more or less of a bad thing that Motor America took over the Daytona 200.
I was going to bring that up too, because
People don't understand. Yeah, people don't know that Daytona 200 was just a privateer
yeah,
racing. That if you had a expert level, they didn't. The only thing they didn't allow was novices. That was the only thing they
right,
didn't allow.
right.
Expert level on up can participate in the 200 and internationals, and that's why reason why it was such a big thing. And when CCS and ASRA kind of, I, I wasn't in the know, so I'm gonna just put my input into it. When they got pushed out or
Right.
bullied out of broadcasting the 200, and then Motor America took over, it's kind of like, yeah, they did bring a lot of TV to the series, or not even a series, to the
Right.
race,
Yeah.
but it was already an international race.
Yeah.
It was already a series, or a race that had people on their edge all over the world trying to see it.
Right.
And if they just would have helped CCS, Azure, they had the money
Right.
to really kind of promote them and kind of help them do it. Or if not, just at least give them a hey, we'll still keep it under your umbrella.
Right. I'll say this. I in 2021 was the first time I went to Daytona, and it was the last time that CCS Azure did Daytona. So I went
Yep.
in March, did it, loved it. Was like awesome. I went back in October for the Race of Champions, and then found out it wasn't going to happen.
Yep.
And I haven't been back to watch the Daytona 200 in March. And I'm more of a doer than a watcher, so it's like I'm not
Me
gonna
too.
buy a ticket to come watch you. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? And
Right.
it was cool to be able to go race, some ASRA races, Formula 40, whatever races, and then
Yep.
watch the Daytona 200, or just be, around those guys and stuff like that, and take all
Correct.
that in, because that experience is so dope. To me
Correct.
anyway. The you know what I mean? And so I found like, yeah, I'm not gonna just go watch it now. And so there are probably other people who would like to go race and be there while that's happening, and not just be a fan.
Like myself,
Mhm.
you hit the nail on the head. To where racers like myself, even if we can participate in wrenching or helping another team or teammate get to a particular place to where they can participate in the 200. Like I said, I've been to one, two, I think three total 200s thus far.
Right.
And because I go there because, not because I'm a fan of Motor America or I support Motor America. I went there the second time to actually help wrench and help be not crew chief, but help wrench one of the Motor America racers that was participating in the 200. Um, the third time I went over there just to spectate. That was it. I wasn't helping anybody. I just wanted to go down there. My fiance, uh, not say at the time, my fiance, she never been to a race.
Okay.
So I had to really show her, it's like, well, if you're gonna go to a race, let's go to the 200.
Yeah.
Let's
Yeah.
go to the biggest race and let's experience it the way you can experience a big race. So we went there, had some fun. She got a lot of knowledge, even though it kind of went 90% of it. She's not a racer, she's not a
Right.
rider, she's very afraid of motorcycles, but at least she got a chance to see it and witness it and spectate of it, to where um, she saw the biggest race. And actually, because of my credentials with Motor America, we actually got into winner circle, and high five Josh Herron winning his
Yeah.
second Daytona 200. and saw and the wife and the kids and everything like that, and spoke to Danny Eslick, and everything like that. So yeah, it, I wish they would kind of not really back out of it, but kind of allow more of the regular average guy kind of get into it. But if you didn't see it, I was there for it, or for the latest one, there was over 50, pardon me, I think it was 66 participants in
Wow.
this last 600. Don't quote me. I'm rounding up, rounding down, but I'm trying to go by memory. There was a lot. There was a
Hmm.
lot. Were most of them, Motor America racers? I believe so. Like a little bit more than half the paddock was more Motor America racers than just you or I
Right,
wanting
right.
to do the 200. And that's where I kind of think that, not say it's watered down, but I mean, you got guys like Hickey coming over here racing 200. Hickey came over here. He had a not say a bad weekend. He got some laps in before.
Right, right. Michael Dunlop came over too, but his bike had issues.
Dude, he almost hit me.
On track?
I'm in the pit, and I can say this because, dude, he almost hit me. I'm in the pit. My rider's in. Uh, he actually came in right before Dunlop came in, and I'm doing tires, blah blah blah. I turn around, and then I hear tire screeching, and luckily, I'm just kind of like, sounds pretty close. I turn around, and Michael Dunlop completely blew his spot.
Oh wow.
Completely blew it, at least about a good, well, we was one, two, three spots away from him. Completely blew it, blew past two more spots, and I'm like, you can't see it, but he was literally like a bike and a half length away from me before he stopped.
Yeah, wow.
And I'm like, thanks for
Wow.
trying to kill me, Michael. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
And dude is crazy. I can say this honestly, that I can understand the adrenaline. This is the peak that you're used to. This is when I think he just won the 300 like a week prior.
Hmm.
So literally after the 300, he ships his bike, or one of his bikes, he's got a couple of them, over to America to race the daggone 200. And he's getting used to everything, and he's very perfectionate and very professional, but he's very,
Yeah, 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 yeah,
I'm
yeah,
like,
yeah.
good Lord, dude,
Yeah.
off the caffeine, some whatever. But God bless him. Um, I think he did okay also, if I remember right. But yeah, like I said, it's a different experience when you go to Motor America or the 200, and you're trying to be the regular guy out there, when you
Right.
have, I'm gonna name drop some more names out here. You have Frenchie the mechanic. If anybody don't know who Frenchie, I think you probably know who Frenchie is. He
Hmm.
did a variety of teams throughout the Motor America paddock for the past couple of years. Then you've got Richie Stamboli, who's been in Motor America paddock and the Moto, not MotoGP, but I think he has been in MotoGP paddock in the late 2000s. But he's been everywhere, and I mean, these are the guys who are pretty much top tier in Motor America. It's kind of like, I'm racing against what?
Right, right.
Why am I even going to bother? I'm running around just doing laps, you know. But I actually knew my first year participating as a crew member of a Motor America paddock in the 200. We got top 10.
Wow. Pretty
So,
dope.
not to say that it can't happen, but if you have a decent rider, you have good equipment, um, then anything's possible. Because Peter Hickey, I think like 5 laps before the end, that's when he crashed out,
Right, right, right.
and he was still top 10. Um, but then you've got Heron, um, what's his name, Cameron, not
Yeah.
Cameron Bobier, Cameron Peterson.
Hmm.
He's sick. He'll tell you straight from his mouth. He's sick and tired of coming in second. He'll tell you straight from his mouth. He's like, I'm sick
Yeah,
and tired of coming in second,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
and
I
I
can
can't blame him.
imagine.
I really
Yeah.
can't blame him, because the last one, I think he came in second or third, and he could have actually won it. but he had to do a pit stop. He had to do a black, not a black flag, but he got to do a pit penalty.
Oh,
If
okay.
that didn't
Yeah, I think I
happen,
remember that.
he would have been up top. He would have been up
Yeah,
top. He would have been
yeah.
fighting with Heron for the win. But he
This,
still fought himself back up to like second or third. So I mean, it's a good fight, but yeah, if you don't have the $50,000 to $75,000 it takes to have a 600 bike run one race.
yeah. Yeah, one race, and the bike has to be built. The motor has to be built for that track. So,
Correct. Yeah. Rich, from what I understand, Rich has he has a formula for everything. God bless Rich Stamboli. I'm about to call him the mad genius.
Mhm.
He's got a formula for everything. I mean, from building a bike to the rider, to the tire pressure, to the angle. Obviously, everyone who knows attack performance, they make rear sets, but their tried and true is their triple tree. And if you ever had an attack triple tree, that was really part of the bee's knees of back in the 80s and the late not 80s, late 90s and the early 2000s. And if you had an attack triple tree, what? That's unobtainium for average guy. And
Right, right.
I saw like maybe 2 or 3 racers actually have or can afford an attack triple tree. Because I mean, just that offset right then and there can really change the game at that point in time.
Right.
But now these bikes are literally derivatives. I don't even call them. I don't even not say I don't call them bikes. These are my classifications. Your lower bikes, your 150s, your 80s, your 125s, blah blah blah. Then you get into your, I would say, not really your lightweights,
Mhm.
your 300s, your 400s,
Right, right.
your
Ultra.
middleweights. It's pretty much your 600s. Everything after that is literally a super bike.
Right.
That's literally what it comes from. It literally comes from World Superbike. They changed their fuel tanks and a couple other knickknacks here and there, but it's literally Superbike. Anything outside of that is MotoGP.
Right.
So literally, MotoGP fiddles down to World Superbike, fiddles down to us unobtainium or these regular guys on the street who
Right.
does wheelies and burnouts and blah blah blah, who doesn't know how to set up a bike, but they do drag racing. Oh my god, that's another story. We won't go down that path. Oh my goodness, but yeah,
There's a
and
there's a there's a lot of people talking about that. So how do you feel? Well,
another rabbit hole.
yeah, let's I want to tie up like Motor America, and then we could talk about
Yeah,
the different kind of riders and stuff like that. And I won't hold you too much longer.
dude, this is my life, dude. I told you,
Yeah,
this is my life. I will promote the bejesus out of racing in U.S. because we need everybody's support. People must understand that you and I do this for a living. It's not a hobby. This
right.
I live, breathe, do everything motorcycles. Even at my day job, I got a little motorcycle up there. People know I race. People know a lot of stuff. People hated me because, like I said, I had a nice little tumble at
Mhm.
Barber, and I was out for my collarbone surgery. And my coworkers finally realized how valuable I am in the workforce because I was gone for a little bit of an extent. So this is dude. Take as much time as you want. I
Got
can
you.
go on and on for days.
All right, that's what's up. So, well, you kind of segued perfectly into what I was going to ask. Growing the motorcycle community, being in the paddock for not for so long, but being in the paddock. And you mentioned the different classes and stuff like that. From what I've been hearing, it sounds like the baggers stole the show as far as drawing crowds and stuff like that.
Do you
So
know why?
do tell.
Okay, everybody's so used to seeing. It's not, and I'm gonna say this loud and proud. It is not a crotch rocket. It is a sport bike. It is a race bike. It
Yeah.
is a street bike. It is not a crotch rocket.
No.
Okay. With that being said, when you have a race bike that everybody sees on the street every single day, it's monotonous. When you see a bagger, 800 pounds, dry weight. Last no, pardon me, 600 pounds dry weight, 800 pounds wet.
All right.
600 pounds of iron and steel V twin that everyone knows for being a straight line motorcycle or a cruiser that you're going
Right.
through the canyons with you and your girl and whatever. Now you're hitting the banks of Daytona, or you're going on a racetrack, hitting angles, hitting lean angles that you normally can't do with a bagger. That is craziness to the American people, actually to the world right about
Yeah,
now.
because they tested over in Europe.
They
The
just did that
Harley just did.
last month. Last month.
Yeah,
Last
yeah,
month.
yeah.
Um, not Rich Ristoli, Rispoli,
Mhm.
and his teammate. Gosh darn.
Uh, yeah.
I'm looking at his face. I'm looking at his pretty boy face. But
Jeez.
the Harley Davidson team went out
Yeah.
over there and just showcased a little bit, just a highlight of what they were doing, and everybody's mouths just dropped because one, they don't really have baggers out there in the UK and the U in
Europe.
straighties and stuff
Yeah.
like that in Europe. They don't have that stuff out there. So when they do see it, and it's kind of like it transformed from this to that,
Yeah, yeah.
able to do those things on that thing, that is not to say it's eye catching, but I told somebody else, like, why is all the baggers taking the blah blah blah? That's the reason why. Now you're instilling or you're bringing something else that no one has seen ever, no one has
Right.
seen, and they're making baggers racers now. So that's the reason why the attention is drawn on them. And God bless Motor America, all the guys behind the scenes who made that happen, who actually thought of that. Roland Sands too.
Mhm.
He's actually still making parts for a lot of his Indian counterparts. So yeah, he's been doing amazing behind the scenes, as well as he's actually been doing some commentating. I don't know if you know that, on the when they're doing the bagger races and stuff like
Okay.
that. So he's been getting his feet wet in the commentating. But he's a nice guy also. He's a nice guy. I've talked to him a couple times at Daytona and somewhere else. I can't remember. And he didn't realize, like, dude, people starting to know you now. It's like
Right,
if
right.
if if anybody says anything, it's like I saw you out first. Like, so
Yeah, I think I'm trying to think when I was at Black Hawk. I think it's 21. I was in Black Hawk, and they were testing out there. Some of the guys were testing
right.
out there, and so they've been doing this for a little bit now,
Indian
which
team was
is
testing out there. Harley Davidson has their own track, but the Indian team was testing out there.
yeah, yeah. So which is pretty amazing because we're there with our I'm there being a spectator, and I'm just like, you're gonna bring this bike out there, and then they go out there and you hear those things, and you're just like, wow.
They're loud, they're fast, and they're gaining speed. And if people don't
Yeah.
quite understand that, um, Travis Wyman,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
it dawned on
yeah,
me. Travis,
yeah, yeah.
Travis Wyman was looking at the times from Coda, and you have to look up the video. So, like I said, I'm probably misquoting him. He said he was about, I think, 4 to 6 seconds off of Moto GP times
No
at
kidding.
Coda
Wow.
on a bagger.
Wow. What?
That he
Yeah, I
said,
mean that's a track you can
that's
stretch
mind
the
blowing,
legs.
dude.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
That is mind blowing for a V twin bike that's not made to do what it's doing, and you're going MotoGP speeds.
Right, right. So MotoGP shouldn't go to 850cc. Is what you're saying?
Remember, we did that already. What
Yeah,
happened?
yeah,
We did
yeah.
that,
I
and
think Lorenzo
I
said
spoke
some
on
lap
that.
times.
Right. It's like, dude, didn't we? Why are we going back to that? It's like, dude, we did that already. Valentino hated it. Casey Stoner hated it. Who else hated it? Colin Edwards. He hated
Yeah.
it because he was on a CRT team, and he's kind of like, what are we doing? It's like, I don't
Right.
get it. I don't understand. But now all this, from what I'm understanding, this is the outside looking in. all this EPA stuff is kind of going on. It's kind of like, what are we doing? You know, now they're getting rid of 600s, getting rid of the R1 is now just a race machine
Yeah, yep,
only.
yeah.
So we've been having this debate back and forth. You can see it's on the page R1, like, but look at it, race only, race only. That's why you have the
Yeah.
winglets on there, blah blah blah.
Right.
So I'm
And do you
like, dude,
think and do you think it's just the bikes are just getting too fast? I mean, I think I heard not think I heard Valentino either while he was still the last year he was still racing and he was talking about Mugello and they were talking about the end of that straight. He's like, eventually the bikes are gonna be too fast to stop at that, to for turn one.
at Mugello turn one, no. I mean, I haven't been on the track. So obviously he's been on the track for years since he was 16 years old. So
Yeah.
I'm just speaking out my butt right about now. Um, if he's saying bikes are going to be too fast for that, even that one corner,
They would have to change the layout essentially to make it safe. It was a safety
well,
thing.
they've done that so many times. They've done it to Spa. They've done it to. They need to do it. I think they have done it a little bit. The Germany round, the Germany where you go left for like ever and ever.
Yeah.
To the waterfall, you make that right. Gosh darn, it's on the tip of my tongue.
I
Uh,
know, I know.
so many
Yeah, yeah.
rounds, so many places, so many fun places. But that's another track that they did a little bit of tweaking here and there, but the ultimate layout of that track is pretty much the same.
Right.
They did that with the not the German round, the Spielberg round, to where that big accident happened,
Right,
and
right.
then they
With
put a fence up that made it worse. I
yeah,
was like,
yeah, yeah,
no, no.
yeah,
But like I
yeah.
said, but they have to test it out, and God forbid I say the word test it out, but they try to do something to make it safe,
Right.
realizing that it made it worse.
Yeah.
So changing the layout was the only way they're going to have to do. They're going to have to push that corner out to not make it such a sharp turn so that you can have that runoff to where you can need to slow down to bleed that speed off
Right.
or put a chicane in.
No, don't do
What do you
that.
think about that? And it's
Not
such a big
Mojo. No,
one.
no, no, no,
Anyway,
no, no, no. That's such an iconic. That's such an iconic. It's
but,
okay. You know.
but you have to do something. And to limit what you're doing to that one corner, either you have to do something before it or you have to do something after it.
Yeah.
Or after you have to do something before, you have to do something in it.
I
So,
mean this in the best way for Italians. Um, they have they don't they love history. They don't like to change things. You walk around Rome. I'm like, aren't a bunch of y'all Masons? Can't y'all do something here? just, just saying. I think you just, you're making some money on tourism.
correct, correct, correct.
you know,
I agree with you.
eh,
I agree with you
eh,
that
eh, and
they
I say that to say that Liberty Media Group has bought a good chunk of MotoGP, so
yeah,
it's all about the show, and
correct.
so I think. And I think we saw that a little bit this year with all the partying and all the stuff that the celebrations after the wins, and even adding the sprint race. And at the time, I couldn't understand why, but once I heard that they were buying it, it was like, oh, it makes sense. Because they,
What bangs
it's
for the
like
buck?
it's like companies hire, financial people, and then a year later they sell, right? Yeah. Why they have a new finance guy here? Hey, they gotta get the books right.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. I was like, gotta get the money right just to sell.
So, so yeah,
Yeah.
so I we'll see with the 850. I mean, I kind of I think it'll be weird with the 850 if super bikes are faster. It'll just be kind of weird. So, and I heard that they tested in BSB this past season to slow those bikes down, just to see.
Then you go to tracks. Have you seen half the tracks they're at? It's like, dude, I wouldn't take a bicycle down on some of these tracks that they're going 80 miles an hour. Freaking, what's the other one that you actually jump every lap? You're getting
Is that
air.
Donington?
Not Donington. Donington's
Oh,
actually a nice track.
not Brands
There's one I can't
Hatch.
remember the name of it. It's a pretty tight technical track, but literally it's a second gear turn that you literally it's a chicane. Then you're going up a hill and you're actually
Yeah.
making a jump. So their bikes are regularly, like I said, they're regular street bikes, regular racing bikes that everybody can make or anybody can purchase with a couple
Right.
of dollars. You can upgrade here and there. And then, like I said, if you go to some of these tracks, they're like that wide. They're like
Yeah.
literally that wide. So it's just like, dude, can we like widen this out just a hair, just a little bit?
No,
And I mean, keep the
plenty of room.
layout. Layout.
I
Some of the
mean,
layouts are good.
if you watch
Just
these if you watch these BSB riders though, they look like they got enough room.
have you seen Hickey face to face?
No, he's taller, right?
He's tall. He's pretty
Yeah,
lanky.
yeah,
He's
yeah.
not like super duper lanky, but he's pretty tall. And he is definitely I would say I'm 180, 190. I was a bodybuilder when I was a high schooler. So as you see, I still have a lot of my muscle. And he's about ooh, sorry. He's about as wide as I am, just a little bit taller. So
Wow.
he's made by 170, 180 minimum.
Hmm.
But like I said, he's just under 6 feet. But like, dude, those guys are, I say they're pretty small. That track, those tracks they're on are
Right,
just
right.
like, oh my god.
Yeah.
And I
No.
learned that with Garrett. Garrett was, World Superbike, and I asked Ben, um, and he said they're pretty narrow. He said they're pretty narrow. I said, but 200 miles an hour, everything's narrow. And I had to agree with it. It's like, yeah, I guess you're right about that, man. No, thanks.
Way to put it in perspective. No, that's pretty wild. So yeah, so let's talk about your podcast and how people can find it. And what is it like? Being at the Track and Motor America and chopping it up with those guys, the pro riders and stuff. Some national, some international riders. What's that like?
It's pretty cool. I try to talk story with them more than anything because I don't want to be like a fan or ask the most stupidest, ridiculous question. Because I've ridden or I'm racing, so it's kind of like I'm sometimes even asking them what compound are you riding, or which compound do you like. It's like I've ridden the 7416, and it's kind of like I find it to be a little bit too grippy,
Hmm.
mostly when it's cold, and they can kind of relate to that a little bit more than how fast do you go.
Right, right, right.
you know so little things like that, I definitely talk to them about. So it's usually talking to them about professional stuff. I kind of keep things not on the average type of spectrum,
Hmm.
but then it's kind of like, hey, what do you guys normally eat for for your dinner, to keep down? Because I talked to Bobby a couple years ago about his diet. He said for him, he has to really stick to a really strict diet because he eats anything and he gains like 10 pounds. And,
Wow.
you know, I didn't know that about him, but it's kind of like, wow. It's like, so do you have a nutritionist? He was like, I can't afford one right now, but I like to get one. Eventually that's what I want to do. So God bless Bobby. Hopefully he can do that right now. But he's actually learned how to cook. So he actually cooks a lot of his food himself. But now that he's got, hopefully everyone knows that he's now on the Yamaha Attack Yamaha Superbike team,
Yeah, I
to
saw
where
that.
congratulations to him, congratulations to Rich, because he's been looking for another rider since a seat came open, and I think Bobby will definitely fit the bill and be able to. He's shown that he can ride the Yamaha, he
Yeah.
can podium the Yamaha, he can win races. So enough said.
Right.
Go out and race. So yeah, they've done some things with that, but it's still kind of buddy chum talk that me and you sometimes have. We'll sometimes talk about stuff because Jay Gagne, he lives in Colorado and he bicycles a lot. So me and him talk about bicycles.
We got you.
He's on a specialist, I'm on a trek, and we'll kind of talk about different gear ratios and blah blah blah. We'll talk about bike stuff. So little things like that. Besides, if you don't know Jake, he's a real surfer, as well as Tony Elias.
Oh, no
Tony
kidding.
Elias is now a surfer, and I think he's trying to go full-time surfer. I swear he is, because that's the only thing he talks about. Only thing he knows is surfing. So little things like that, to where you can kind of not say cut the mustard, but just
Right.
talk story and stuff like that. And then when things get serious, kind of hey, you about to jump on the bike, we need to talk about blah blah blah, or with your track time and blah blah blah. So, well, it's here and there. If
Right.
you're an enthusiast, or if you've been following either the rider, or if not the team, as well as the series, then you usually have something to kind of break the ice and talk about. Um, I'll tell you a quick story. Before I actually became a podcaster, um, this is when I just joined Facebook, and Josh Hayes was on Facebook,
Mm-hmm.
and we started talking. He had a post about Top Gun. It's one of my favorite movies, along with other movies. But we started talking about Top Gun,
Right.
and I can't remember what was said, but we started talking about it. And he doesn't get on, he doesn't Facebook, he doesn't Instagram, he doesn't do none of that stuff on a regular basis. But me and him struck a conversation on Facebook that we carried on for a couple minutes. Kind of, oh, I'll see you later, blah, blah, blah. So the next round was, I believe, Road Atlanta. Um, this is when they were doing the fan walk for like the first time in Motor America. Pardon me, Motor America, aka DMG.
Mm-hmm.
And if anybody doesn't know what DMG is Daytona Motorsports Group. That's
Okay.
when they bought out AMA Pro, and they never established themselves as anything else. So it was still or AMA Pro. And yeah, long story short. So this was DMG years, to
Right.
where they was doing a fan walk for the very first time, and everybody's lining up for their photographs and their handshakes, and with every pit crew. And I'm sitting in Josh Herron's tent,
Okay.
sitting in his tent,
Yeah.
and I can't remember why I was sitting in it, but I'm sitting in Josh Herron's tent, or Josh Hayes' tent. And he's coming up. He's like, "Hey, what's going on?" Blah blah blah. He's like, "Hey." He said, "Hey, quick question." He said, "Do you remember Facebook?" Blah 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 blah. And I mentioned the post on Top Gun, and he was like, "Oh yeah, that was a great conversation." Hi, I'm Jordan Long. I was the guy who you talking to. He goes, "Oh, dude, that was you." Oh, and we started
Yeah. Yeah.
geeking
Yeah.
off of that for like the next 5 minutes. Now remember, I'm in his tent on his hot pit lane. His bike's right there, and there's a line full of people waiting to talk to him.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
me and him are cutting it up. Me and him are just cutting it up, laughing,
Wow.
joking, blah 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 blah. So I was like, "Dude, let me let you go, because these people are here waiting for you." He's
Right.
like, "We'll talk later on." And then it's just like, we'll chop it up. And he told me, he's like, "You better make sure we do."
No
That was
kidding.
my indication. It's like, I need to do this more often.
Right. Right.
The other instance, I'm gonna make it real short, because I know we're going on like, holy cow, hour and a half. Ooh, we're gonna make this a good show.
Oh, sorry. Yes, definitely.
My daughter, this is my oldest daughter now. She was 7, 8 years old at the time. Like I said, racing family. She met Ben Bostrom and Chris Clark
Oh, no
when they
kidding.
was racing the Chris Clark team, the Yamaha
Okay.
Chris Clark. I'm really showing my age right about now. So Ben Bostrom, my daughter wants to get a picture with Ben. And I'm like, well, this is that Weira, and they were doing the first Weira endurance race, which the $50,000 purse you were talking about.
Mm-hmm.
This is Weira, their first time doing it, and all the big wigs came out. Chris Clark team, Westby Racing, God bless Westby Racing team. This is when Dane was still alive, and me and him talked for a hot minute. And Chris Sellers, I think it was Chris Sellers. Sellers, I know his last name is Sellers. South African. He was here also. So my daughter's kind of like, "Can I get a picture with Ben?" Because I'm telling him, he's like, "Who's that?" And I'm like, "That's Ben Bostrom." He's like, I like him. Can I get a picture with him?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'll ask him." He's like, "I don't know.
Yeah.
Let's find out." So Ben is swapping out. He just cut off the track. He's swapping out with Chris and somebody else. And I'm like, "Hey, Ben, sorry to bother you." He's like, "Do you mind if my daughter gets a picture with you?" And he was just like, hey, no problem. He's like, that's what I'm here for. And I'm like, appreciate it. So
Yeah.
I'm about to like, cause I'm carrying her. She's like 7, 8 years old. I'm carrying her and I'm about to like put her down. And she's like, no. She like grabs onto me tighter. She's like,
Yeah.
no, no, no. I want you in the picture with me. And
Yeah.
I'm like, I guess we're taking a picture, Ben. He's like, hey, no problem. Come on. And you know how some people are kind of like standoffish. They're kind of like,
Yeah.
they'll kind of give you like, eh.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Dude, he pulled it right in. He
Nice.
pulled it
Nice.
right
Nice.
in. He pulled it right in. He was like, hey, come on, let's all get together.
Yeah. Yeah.
And after the race, obviously you can imagine who won. After the race, we're sitting down with Ben and Chris. I got photographs of this. My ex-wife took pictures of me, Ben, and Chris cutting it up with my daughter, and I'm cracking them up. Like I said, I'm not a comedian, but
Right. Right. Right.
I can make a ha-ha every now and again. So I'm over here cracking up Ben Bostrom and Chris Clark. Like it was like a stand-up hour for
Yeah.
me.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm just like having fun. And my wife was like taking pictures of all this stuff. There's one picture with I got Ben. He was laughing so hard, he like doubled over.
Wow. Okay.
And I'm just over, like I said, I'm just having fun. It's kind of like, I'm
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
racing
Yeah.
this weekend, blah, blah, blah. Hey, you guys are having all the exercise. I'm just over here having fun.
Right. Right.
So this is when, like I said, this is like the first round of AMA Pro, which they usually started off at East Coast.
All right.
So literally the next round, after I get off with Josh Hayes's pit, I jump off, let him do his thing, grab my daughter, and we're walking up the pit.
Yeah. Yeah.
We see Chris Clark and Ben Bostrom walking over to their pit area. A line of people, obviously, as you can imagine, waiting for them to come to their pit area to sign autographs, take pictures. Ben Bostrom sees my daughter. He's like, hey, I remember you. Oh, get over here. This is the first year of Fan Walk.
Oh wow. Okay.
So, people are kind of like, okay, is this going to work? Are we going to do this? Blah, blah, blah. There's a whole bunch of Motor America people just walking around. Not Motor America, but AMA Pro people walking
Yeah.
around.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like, you got to be on your P's and Q's because, you can easily get kicked out. And he's like, oh, get over here, blah, blah, blah. And he literally like he kind of grabs my daughter, pulls her over into their tent and starts talking. How'd you like the racing and blah, blah, blah. And did you get the pictures and blah, blah, blah. And like I said, I'm in the pit area to the side. They're having a full-on conversation. Chris Clark, Ben Bostrom. I can't remember. I think Chris Clark's dad was also there also. And they're having a full-on conversation. And I'm like, I'm about to get kicked out. It's like, these people don't know me.
Right. Right.
I'm cutting in line of all these people who are coming over here to see Chris Clark and Ben Bostrom. The line is forming longer and longer.
Right. Right.
And they're just completely obliterated. I mean, their back is literally towards the freaking people. And it's like, oh, how is that? And I'm like, I'm about to get kicked out the freaking track.
Yeah.
Because my daughter wants to have a conversation with Ben Bostrom and Chris Clark. To this day, every year when Ben Bostrom has a birthday, which I know his birthday now, we send him that picture, and he still remembers that picture to this freaking day at Rolling Roads.
Wow. Oh man, that's pretty amazing. And just listening to some of the things you've said tonight, man, you really been in the community for a little bit, and you watch some of these pros grow up. I'm like I've been on track with Kayla and some of these younger people and stuff like that, and with CCS and Azra
Yep.
and usually like practice sessions, we weren't racing in the same class, but you know what I'm saying. So I'm not sitting here saying I'm anywhere near her skills. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying I know what it's like to watch young kids be really fast.
We were on the same track together.
Exactly, exactly. And but now you're talking about these some of these national champions and stuff like that. 6 times, I don't know how many championship Jay Kanye got, and stuff like that. Do you do you ever get jaded? Do you ever say, "Ah, man, I'm not going to the track this year"? Is it just the MR14 is just still in your blood and you need to burn some fuel?
Believe it or not, um, I thank myself. I thank my family uh, for supporting me. Even my ex-wife for supporting my craving, my addiction. When we were married, because she knew my passion was for motorcycles, was for racing, was for motorcycles. And right now, the passion has kind of dwindled down to my kids.
Right, right. Okay. So they riding.
So my oldest daughter, who she rides bikes every now and again, she actually wants to get on a bike. My youngest daughter, who is 13 right now, going to be 14 in March, she actually had just a PB80, nothing really big, nothing really major, but she actually had a small little motorcycle to where she was riding for about a good year. So she's ready. She's 13 now, so she's ready to get into a full fledged Milwaukee.
Right, right, right.
So I'm actually looking out for a couple of people to help me out if possible, because like you and I, not say struggling. I'm not gonna say I'm struggling, but I'm definitely wanting to put them in a position to make them as successful as they can. And
Right.
believe it or not, I actually reached out to Kayla Moore just recently. God bless you, Kayla and the Kayla Moore family. Happy birthday, Mr. Moore. He just had a birthday last week. Um, I reached out to their family to where we may be able to do a little something, 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 something.
Right, right, right.
But like I said, that's going to be 2025, not going to be 2024. So we're just trying to see where things will kind of work out to where I know where I can kind of get them to. After that is kind of like, I may not have all the skill sets that I had 30, 20 years ago when I was actively racing.
Right.
So, obviously I expect them to supersede my skill set, and then I'll be able to pass them off over to Melissa Paris, Kayla Moore. Um, I can mention a couple other female racers who are actively racing right now and be like, hey, what else should she do? What else do I need to do to get
Right.
her to such and such level and stuff like that? Because that's the other thing that motorcycle world has been actually following is the women. The
Right.
women racing in FIM was a very successful. I think I didn't see the numbers, but from what I looked at the streams and the recontent and things of such, that the women's racing was a success, and I believe they're still going to do it for 2025. So
Yeah, I
that's
think
going to
so.
be a really good look for them and for us if we can continue on that same path. And I think with the motorcycles that they're actually doing right about now, the 390s that they're doing is definitely going to be a good gateway.
Yeah, I agree with you as far as the women's series. I've talked to some women riders and stuff like that, and it was one of those things where you've been in the sport longer than I've been, and women have been in the sport from the beginning.
Mhm.
I think about back in the day on a basketball court, BNBL leagues, the summer basketball leagues. There's teams that would have a female on it and
Mhm.
can hoop, can hoop.
Yeah. Yep.
and there weren't any female teams for them to go hoop with, so they had no choice
Right.
but to play on the
With the
boys
fellas.
teams and stuff
Yeah.
like that. At least with motorcycle racing, it's a little bit more a level playing field because you just got to be able to manage the risk.
Right.
Not necessarily the whole athleticism
Correct.
that guys have versus women. So
Correct.
I feel like car racing, motorcycle racing, it doesn't matter the sex, it doesn't matter the size. It just how
If you got the
how much
skill.
hot you got, how much hot you
Yeah.
got, and how much skills you got.
If you got the money and the skill, and that's literally
Right.
what it is. That's and everything else is sky's the limit.
Yeah. So I do feel like it was really good to have this year, and I do hope it continues, and I hope it's it would be unfair for me to say if it's needed in the sport because you see what Kayla is doing, you see what some of these other females are doing, Anna Carrasco and stuff in Superbike and Moto 3 and stuff like that. But I have to imagine that for them, there's a bunch of women that still aren't getting a ride. So even though I think there was like 24, 25 women on the grid in the WCR,
Mm.
I hope it grows and I hope there's a superbike version of that and stuff like that, and really get it because I watch all type of racing. I watch watch all type of racing
Me
and
too.
what by the I think by the second round or something like that, I was just enjoying the races. It was just it was another race for me to absorb. It wasn't like,
Yep.
oh well, I guess I'll go watch this because there's nothing else to watch. I actually wanted to, and I do realize that Anna Carrasco and Maria
Hmm.
and I forget the Spanish woman's name in third place. They were definitely the standout.
Yeah.
They were the three standout. They were on that world stage as far as they could have gone, and a lot of
Correct.
these other women were only coming to the European tracks for the first time and just racing in their country and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
I think those women are going to come back even stronger next year, and they're going
Correct.
to be telling the women that they're racing in their country, and I think it will get in 3 to 5 years. I'm pretty sure the first 15 riders are going to be similar to Moto 2. You know what I'm
If
saying?
not, if not even better. Like I said,
Yeah.
Anna and Maria have really set the bar. I think they've actually set the bar like 2 or 3 steps up
Oh yeah.
from what they were expecting. And I'm really glad to see that the organization, FIM, and the rest of the organization was able to meet their needs, even though I still heard that a lot of their needs weren't really met in the paddock wise because they never really had enough space. They never
Right.
really had, not to say diversity, because if you want to be integrated in something like this, then you need to understand that, it's not going to be peaches and cream all the time. But
Right.
if you want to be separate, then you have to be separate. If you want
Right.
to be a part of it, then understand that you're going to have to make your way into it, because a lot of money is being spent on this side. You got some money being spent over here, but not as much.
Right.
So you have to inch your way in.
Right.
So I'd heard that a lot of women that were complaining about facilities and stuff like that, and pit areas weren't as clean or as some people said wasn't as safe. It's
Or
like you're in paddock.
inside.
Right, right. You're inside. So it's like, what are you complaining
you
about?
know.
But I
No, they
understand. It's
weren't.
like,
I don't. I saw somewhere they were. Like how we set up outside without tents. I saw some of that. So
yeah,
they're I we see it with the lower classes in World Superbike and MotoGP as well. They get the fold up chairs and you might even be sitting on a crate today, buddy.
yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Motor
So
America. When we go to Coda for MotoGP, we're literally sitting outside. We don't even get
yeah,
a RV or nothing like that. Whatever your truck is providing, that's what you have.
so
Suck it up, Buttercup. You at least getting to some seat time and some air
right.
time with MotoGP, and that's what they give us. So
Right. I will say the pluses, and I know, and from what I've heard, I could be wrong, but it sounded like to get the bike package or something like that was like 25 grand. And obviously, it's not for breaking the bike and all that stuff and repairing costs, but at
yeah,
least from the stories I've heard from what some people pay for rides and for if you had to pay 25 grand for a ride, that's a lot better with what some people are paying in the US.
Correct.
And you know what I mean? And so at least if you're coming from some of these, poorer countries that don't have that kind of cash, I'm pretty sure 25 grand is still a lot.
Correct.
But
Yeah, I agree.
when you look at Motor America and what I hear some of these people are paying, it's a drop in the bucket.
Take my money. Yeah. I know there's once you get to that level, I mean, people don't quite understand that you're kind of paying your way up until that level, until
Right.
you get to that point to where, okay, now you're at a team to where I can pay you. People don't quite understand this. It's like everything you're doing is out of your pocket. Um, I'll put something out that Josh Heron told me a couple years ago when he went to Moto 2, that was out of his own pocket.
Oh wow.
The whole thing was out of his pocket.
No
So
kidding.
when people thought that, he was getting a ride, he just literally won his first superbike with AMA Pro and he was going to MotoGP and run a Moto 2 round or running Moto 2 team, ooh, we got him there, blah, blah, blah. It's kind of like, no, he paid for that.
Yeah. That's wild. That's wild.
He
I
paid
mean,
for
it's
that.
good.
Yeah, he paid for that. And then on top of that, I don't know, but that I think his second year or something like that on his contract, they were actually pushing him out.
No kidding.
They were actually pushing him out, and he was literally like struggling just to stay in Europe until
Yeah.
I think his mom was kind of like, "Okay, we're done. Come
Yeah,
back."
yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, no, I've heard the stories, and I think, and we've talked about it on the show, and that's the, I, my have a dream speech is I hope one day that kids can just get to the pro level without having to pay. You know what I'm saying? Because if you're a talent, I mean, obviously in NBA, NFL, there's only a certain amount of kids that are going every year.
Correct.
I mean, I don't even know how many kids play basketball versus how many make it. But
Right.
and so I know there's a discrepancy there, and most kids don't make it. But you know, let there be an NIL deal for riders or something, because really, it really, I think it needs to change. I don't know the business side of it at all, so I'm not going to pretend like I know how that side work from the outside
Right.
looking in.
Right. Right.
I know people invest in things, and there are a lot of people that have money that are looking to invest in things. So
Right.
somewhere, the people that got the money that want to invest in things need to find the people that need the money to invest in things, and you know what I mean? Because like we see it in other areas happening, and I don't know if it's just you know I don't know if they don't want to change, or is it's just too much, or whatever the case may be. But there's definitely, I hope that changes one day, because it really, you got guys and gals that are really fast and they ain't racing because they ain't got no money. And it's one thing if you don't have the talent, you know.
Right. And that's where I kind of got stuck at when I was actually racing really good. I already knew that when I started racing, I was already kind of in my later years. So if I can get at least a pro card, that's what I wanted to do.
Right.
And I was at Mid Ohio. I went out on cold tires because I had to. Long story short, I had tire warmers, but my tire swap came in late because it was just me. The
Mm-hmm.
tire guy was at lunch for 2 hours. I don't know why. So by the time he got back, paid for my tires, got them in, threw them on the bike, put the warmers on. I'm looking at my time, looking at the clock, and I literally had 15 minutes to go.
Right. Right.
I had 15 minutes to get ready. And these are Dunlops. So everybody who knows Dunlops, they need an hour. They need
First
45
crash.
minutes to an
The
hour
first crash
minimum.
was on a Dunlop.
Minimum. Exactly. So I'm going to just like, I'm going to fall on my face. And Sean Pareto, God bless him. Hopefully he hears this. He was there at Mid Ohio. He was doing something with somebody else, but he followed a lot of CCS as a racers because he had a couple of racers who was doing that also.
Right.
One was not Cardenas. I can't remember the other Southern Spain, Southern American racer he had. But long story short, I go out over there and I fall on my face in the keyhole on the warm up lap, to be expected. I thought I was gonna hold. I wasn't trying to push it, wasn't trying to do nothing crazy. Put it to the right hander in the keyhole in Mid Ohio. If anybody knows what that course is, the first right big long right hander. And I'm thinking like, okay, I think I got it. Boop, right on my face. So you can imagine I wasn't too happy about that. But that's when the first time I got a chance to meet Jake Gigawatt, um, Gary Gerloff, and a couple other people. Um, I can't remember his name. He had the nose. 71. That was his race number, 71. He lived in Mid Ohio, still lives in Ohio. Um, Larry Pegram. Larry
Okay.
Pegram. Met him for the first time. We talked for a while too. And yeah, Sean kind of coached me after that. And it was kind of like, don't worry about it. I see your potential. Do this, do that. Bada bing, bada boom. He's like, in no time, you'll have, people, sponsors and yada, yada, yada.
Yeah.
And I took his word. And less than a year later, me and Sean started talking. It's kind of like, hey, I'm ready to do this. I'm ready to make some moves. And he helped me make a couple of small moves, but it was big for me at the time
Right.
because, like I
Right.
said, I was still doing a lot of things by myself on my own. And he just dropped gave me couple little jewels here and there that helped me out tremendously.
Wow.
That's it. That's why I like this sport, this community, because we're always trying to help one another,
Yeah.
bring each other up, not really tear anybody down or anything like that. And that's where, I think if everybody raced motorcycles, this freaking world would be a whole lot better.
I completely agree. I definitely completely agree. And you got to it a lot earlier than I did. But once I got there and realized it, there's it shows you who you are.
Yep.
You'll go in thinking that you're not capable of doing something things, and you'd leave believing you can do anything.
Yeah.
And that's the most important thing in life, is to believe you can do anything under duress, under stress, under chaos. Don't give up. Keep fighting.
You think you blow the turn, next thing you know, holy cow, how that happened?
Exactly. You're always gonna drive home, but you're
Yes.
gonna either be smiling or you're gonna be learning a little bit of
Yeah,
both
one way,
sometimes.
shape, form, or another. Yes, sir.
you know and that's the beautiful thing about it. And I think, I appreciate what you're doing. I appreciate you reaching out. I've come to love this sport, and it's a sport that definitely needs to be grown more. And I do see, in my short time, being around it, I'm seeing it. And I'm trying to do my part and contribute, because that's the thing about life in general. You know what I mean? Like anything in life, like there's always somebody that has to, give you a little jewels, like you say, give you a little thing, regardless of whatever. You're never just there on your own.
Correct.
And I appreciate you saying, and I like the way you said it. It's not a hobby. You know what I'm
No.
saying? Because it really, and I never really, I didn't even think of it like I wasn't calling it a hobby. I don't think I had a bracket to put it in. But it's definitely not a hobby.
No, no. And believe it or not, even the insurance agencies or insurance companies, they still consider motorcycling a hobby.
Yeah.
So once you have something that's a hobby that you do, whether it be full time or have to fully insure something, then that's why your rates go up, because you're actually utilizing it for what it's supposedly not intended.
Right.
That's why people don't quite understand. It's just like when you do insurance quotes, insurance rates, you do the basic stuff for the motorcycle, and it's kind of like, oh, it's $13.
Right.
Anybody can do that for a limited insurance rate. But when you do the full coverage, now your rates jump up to $400, $500, $600 a month. It's like,
Right.
why is that? Because now you're intending to do something that's not uh, casual
Right.
for an everyday or not a hobby. So that's when they get you in the pocket.
Listen, man, insurance. You know, I'm not. I'll leave it there, but you know.
Yeah, we don't want to make insurance companies pissed off at us, and then
Well,
find
I don't
some.
know. I mean, there's already people dealing with insurance people already, so I'm not saying it's right, but I'm just saying, you know, it's definitely got people disgruntled, man. For sure, to where you know they you know the guy took the CEO's life, so
Definitely, yep.
of United Healthcare. You know what I mean? So yeah, so you know it's
Yeah,
you know, but again, you know, that's a different show. just you know, you brought up insurance, and
yeah,
that's the thing that came to mind. I mean, you know, Jesus, the internet had fun with that all last week,
real
and
fast.
and and all that, you know,
Yeah,
and a lot of
definitely.
people are unhappy with the way insurance companies are treating them. And you know, it's like I've been in healthcare for a long time, and you know, when things go smoothly, you never really you know you don't think about anything or the people that it doesn't go smoothly for.
Correct. Yeah,
You know what I'm saying? And I think you know from just talking to you and hearing you talk, like you have to do your research.
right,
You know,
right,
and you know that's the if you do your research, it's kind of not to say you can't still get screwed. It's a little bit harder to
correct,
because you got that information. So
correct.
you know,
You
so
got your ammunition. You can fight back.
Exactly. So, so that's unfortunate that it comes to that. But insurance is something, you know, they say we need it, but I don't know.
We, like I say, yeah, they say we do need it, but if you look at the history of it, I'm not gonna go to it because, like I said, then we'll be here for another hour.
Right. Exactly. As I'm trying to wrap up.
Right, right, right. But and insurance companies, they have their needs for the states and for the counties, stuff like that. So they do help out in the ways they do help us in.
Hmm.
How they do it can definitely be changed,
Right.
and that's where the
Well,
laws come in.
right. And I'll say this: I think it works if there's only a few people using the insurance. But
Or
if
not abusing it. Correct. Yeah.
you know, because when you know, I'm down in Florida now, and I know a lot of the insurance companies are struggling because of hurricanes and stuff the last few years, because so many people are putting in claims at once.
Right.
And you saw them struggle with that, and still probably is struggling with that, and people are struggling with trying to get cook stuff covered and stuff like that.
Right. Yeah.
And so yeah, you know, it's something that so the government or somebody should look into it because it is one of those things that if you've been paying insurance for 5 years, for however long, how come you don't get any money back? You know what I mean? And that's as simple as that. Like
Whoopi just said that too. Whoopi
yeah,
just said
you know,
that on the show. It's just like, okay, I've been paying for insurance for blah 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 year. Where's the money going? It's like, where's the money going to, or why don't I get anything back if I don't have a claim? If I don't
yeah.
have anything, it's just like, yeah. So
So yeah, and so it you know it's if I could do without it, I would. If certain things, I mean, don't get me wrong. When I was younger, I was accident prone with my cars, so I needed it then.
I wasn't. Believe it or not, I wasn't. Either with my car, motorcycles, or anything, I was not accident prone.
Yeah,
Even on a racetrack, I wasn't accident prone. Hunter, what this? He was an ex racer from uh, AMA Pro. We raced at Jennings one day at a CCS race, and I asked him, I was just like, "How do you get so fast?" He's like, "Dude, you have to crash." I'm like, "But I don't want to crash." He's like, "Why
yeah,
would you tell me to crash purposefully?" He's like, that's how you find your limit. It's just
yeah.
like I could find my limit without crashing. It's like maybe that's a skill that I have.
Right,
I
right.
find out my limit without crashing because I found out how to tuck the front in turn one in Jennings without
Yeah.
crashing.
Yes, exactly. Without crashing.
Without crashing. And it's like, oh, okay, that's how you tuck the front. Okay, cool
Yeah,
beans. Let's not do
yeah.
that again.
Not again. Not again. No, you know, it's hard. I guess if you can find that limit without crashing, then yeah, that bottle that because, and I guess you probably, you know, but there's too many things that can go wrong. So I mean, you know,
Right.
there's
At
yeah,
any point
yeah,
in time.
yeah. So,
At any point in time.
is I think as long as you got the right gear on, that's the better part.
Dude, I'm gonna highlight real quick. I know we have to shut everything down. Uh I don't care if you're on the street, on the track, if it's worth getting an air vest, do it.
Yeah.
I have not worn an air vest in my whole career of racing and riding. The last incident I had at Barber was, like I said, it was like 35, 40 miles an hour. I broke my collarbone
Yeah.
because the typical incident hit your shoulder, helmet, boom, collarbone.
Yeah.
And it was at 30 miles an hour. The bike was decently banged up, was a 30-mile-an-hour crash. And if I didn't break my collarbone, I'd have been able to knock off some pieces on the bike, make it naked, get back on the track.
Right.
But
Right.
because I had a broken collarbone, my day was done.
Yeah.
So
Definitely.
first thing I'm going to do is I've actually talked to Dionysi, and I've actually making a suit, actually making 2 suits, and make sure I have an airbag.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I agree.
Because
Like the
it's
airbags is the way to go.
yeah, it's very, not to say it's very inexpensive, because some of them can be pretty pricey, but as long as you have the rest of the gear, helmet, gloves, boots. I mean, now they got riding jackets, riding hoodies, riding pants. I mean, they've got armored everything
Right.
so that their average street rider can go down without, hopefully, depending on the crash, any serious injuries.
Yeah.
So go to your local store, professional store. Don't get nothing janky. Get, if you can afford the top of the line, fine, great. Get the top of the line. There's plenty of companies that have baselines and even midline price points, to where you can get something that will potentially save your life, or if not, keep you from getting badly scarred. Uh,
Yeah. 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 I
you
hear
know,
that.
Stupidness. I could have walked away, but long story short, I'm not gonna go down that road. But yeah, because I want to go out and just, I'll be all right.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
So
No, I've been fortunate. Most of my accidents, I had gear on. One I didn't. Well, I didn't have. I had regular jeans on, and my knee. Yeah,
I got a
it
whole money
saw
for
what
that.
it saw what happened when I didn't wear jeans, so when I didn't have riding jeans or riding pants on and stuff like that. I'm a big fan of gear. I'm down in Florida now. It's very hot in the summertime, so I have to look at different gear to get,
And
but it
stay
has to
hydrated
be,
too.
yeah, it
Yeah,
has to be motorcycle gear.
yeah.
It's just not, like I said, I'm prone to crash. I'm not gonna pretend like, I don't do foolishness on the street or anything like that. But there's cars on the street and they do foolishness,
Correct.
and there's only you know you only have so much length that a bike can stop.
Yep. Yep.
Before, so
And your weight versus a car's weight, doesn't matter what the car it is, even if it's a
yeah,
smart car, you're still being outweighed
yeah.
to them. And like I
So
said, everybody's on their phone, texting, not even just texting and talking, just texting and video chatting. And
right, yeah,
I've seen people just do some crazy, crazy stuff. So be protected 24/7, because you don't know where it's going to come from or where it's going to end up. So we'd rather
yes,
you be alive and safe than chopped up in the morgue or picking up pieces with a shovel. So
exactly.
it's not worth it.
I completely agree. And on that note, we're gonna end. Tell people how they can reach you, man. And
They can reach me at JL Unlimited at Spreaker, SPERAKER.com. You can get me on iHeart, Tunes also, but pretty much anything that you can think of on your podcast list. Just look for JL Unlimited Radio Show. Look for that logo right there, baby. And then I can definitely looking for subscribers, looking for content makers like Rex, doing multi things. I'm always looking forward to do things with amateur racers, drag racers, anything power sports, motorsports, water sports. I want to hear your story. I want to
that's
spread your
just
story. I want to know people or tell people about who you are.
that's what's up, man. I appreciate you coming on tonight, Jordan Long.
Thank you, Rex.